Well, good evening, everyone. My name is Ethan Castleberry, and tonight you're watching Victory Talks with Pastor Castleberry, Keith Castleberry, my dad. I will be moderating tonight, as always, and trying to keep us on track as much as possible. So tonight, why don't you go ahead and join in with some comments? We want to hear from you today. Let us know, just in these first few minutes as we're starting off, let us know a little bit about how your day's going, what you're doing. What did you feel like whenever you heard that Texas is going to get back to work soon? So I know Governor Greg Abbott has made that announcement, and we're looking like on the 30th, which is this Thursday, our stay-at-home orders will be canceled. So how do you feel about that? Why don't you let us know in the comments below, and we're going to have a good conversation tonight with Pastor Castleberry. Pastor Castleberry, how are you doing?
I am well and blessed and highly flavored. So I'm doing well. Doing good. Had a good day, busy day, but it's good.
Awesome. Well, I know God has really blessed all of us. Looks like someone's canning. Diane Walters, she's been canning. She's been preparing. She's putting food back for who knows what. You never know what's going to happen, and especially nowadays with the news constantly seeing about potential food shortages. So that's something that we've got to be mindful of. So anybody else,
Right.
what are you doing right now? What's going on? Are you relaxing? Are you taking it easy? Are you working around the house? Why don't you let us know in the comments below? Is there anything interesting? Something you've never done before? We want to hear about that. So Pastor, what are we going to be talking about tonight?
Okay, the topic I've got several things that I want to talk about. First of all, I want to talk about the economic development, things that are going on in our world, what we can see coming. There are some things that we can expect just by looking at what's going on around us, then kind of preparing ourselves for that. Then I've got a couple of comments that I want to make, and I don't want to get too preacherly, but I am a pastor, so that's just the way it is. But I want to talk about the 99 versus the 1. I had somebody ask me earlier today, what do you mean when you say 99 versus 1? I'm talking about the scripture in Matthew 18 that Jesus gives us the analogy of the good shepherd. He leaves the 99 to go get the 1. So we'll talk about that. And then we'll also talk about an old phrase we used to use, and we still do some of the elders use it. It's called haste makes waste. So we're going to talk about that for a little bit as well. So that's kind of that's what I've got going. But of course, we want to have questions. People have questions. We want to answer them, that kind of thing. We want to do as much as we can, get as much as we can done. So that's where I'm at.
Awesome. Well, I'm excited to hear about that. And one thing that Pastor probably won't mention, that many of you in the Victory Church here in College Station were able to honor Pastor Castleberry. So Sunday, yes. I know he probably hates it and he did not expect it. I'll say that. So I first want to just say thank you to everyone who made the surprise a success. It was a neat thing to see all the cars pull around the church and surprise him as Ed Schulz, Christy Schulz brought him out front, and I think they tricked him into getting to the church, that kind of thing. So it's just awesome to see that. So thank you, all the church members, people that showed up and wanted to share your love. I think it was really neat to see all the creative signs and creative ways of how they are saying thank you and all that they've done during this time, because this is unprecedented. This is a thing that's not happened in our lifetime. And so who knew that we would change our traditional church times, our traditional church services, how we do things. So it's just amazing. We've got a resilient church, and an amazing church. I'll just say it, amazing. And that could describe a lot of things and a lot of people, but we do have an amazing church with an amazing pastor. So thank you, Pastor Castleberry.
Well, wait. Let me. I wished I would have said everything you just said, and my mind was on other things, and I feel terrible about it. I seriously mean that. I was blown away, and Christy and Ed Schulz did get me there. There were some other people involved and scheming and all that, and then they got us there, and they said, "Hey, come out here and look at this." We walked outside. Christy and Ed Schulz stepped back in the church and locked the door. And so we couldn't get back in, but needless to say, we didn't want back in because we love seeing everybody. And as you just said, we've got an amazing church, so many amazing people, And I'm just so honored to pastor all of you. You blew my mind, all of you. It was like awesome. Thank you for that gesture of kindness. And somebody even gave us some toilet paper. I'm like, wow, that's pretty awesome. So pretty neat. Thank y'all. I can't tell you enough. Thank you. So we could talk about that all night, but we probably need to move forward. So I'll leave it alone.
All right, so we'll move forward. We do have some people in the comment section. Some people said they've been making bread. That seems to have been the thing for the past month and a half. People are getting creative, trying to make some bread for the first time. I know we've done it at our house, and I know some of you have. But again, thank you all for listening. I know we're just a few minutes into this, and so we were talking, just getting us all logged on and on board. Thank you all for joining us. This is Victory Talks. This is an opportunity that we take every week on Tuesday nights to just talk. This is Senior Pastor Keith Castleberry of Victory Church in College Station, Texas. And this is an opportunity where we're a blessed church because we have a pastor like him. I'll say that. He is not only amazing with the scriptures. I know he hates it that I'm talking about him, but he understands the world. And so this is stuff that the bridge, if you understand preaching, if you understand teaching, the whole goal of all of it is to make a bridge between the person and God's Word, the person and who God is and what He wants us to be. And so there's a lot of reality in between. There's a lot of practical things that happen in between. And this Tuesday night opportunity usually focuses on the practical things of living for God and being the church. So, Pastor, why don't you go ahead and start with the first topic, Haste Makes Waste. Tell us a little bit about it and what we can do.
All right. So, let me just start off by this. Haste makes waste is an old idiom. I don't even know, probably Ben Franklin or somebody come up with it. I probably should have looked it up before I even started talking about it. But it's an idiom from years ago that basically means if you hurry, you often don't do a good job. If you get hasty, you will fail to do something, have to go back and do it again. It costs you time, it costs you money. And so we see that, and I don't want to be like pastoring tonight or preaching tonight, but I do want to pastor, of course. I'll always do that. But we see that expressed multiple times in Scripture. My wife and I were eating lunch today, and she made some amazing jambalaya. Wow, so good. But anyway, she and I were talking, and I threw up a scripture, and I think she threw up a scripture, and we were just talking about the scripture, and then that topic come up, and she told me about what she was reading, and it all just played together. And one of the things that we see throughout the Word of God is people being hasty or impatient, might be another word, in dealing with God. And we see it in Moses whenever he went up on the mountain and he was there. God called him there. God put him there. The people didn't see it, quote unquote, feel it. They didn't know. They didn't understand. And so they became hasty or impatient. And I believe it's in Exodus, and I wrote it down here in, where did I write it? Exodus 31, that, they're like, Joshua, build us a golden calf because we don't know what happened to this guy. He's just absent, AWOL from what he's supposed to be doing. And so they perceived one thing, but God was working another way. And we see that happen multiple times. Joshua, probably one of the most saddest events in history in the Bible, is when Joshua, favored by God, favored by men, was king of Israel, had such great opportunity in front of him, and then he goes and blows it by taking the position of priest away from the prophet there. And it was just such a sad thing because he was hasty. He got impatient. And then the last thing, and this one again deals with that same time period, but there's others. Another example that we were talking about was when Joshua, they conquer Jericho, then they go to Ai, and they can't conquer Ai, and they find out their sin. Finally, they get that taken care of. And lo and behold, a team of people from what we know as Gibeon come to him, and they realize, if we don't, the team of people from Gibeah, they realize if we don't trick them, they're going to defeat us and we're going to be nobody. And so they trick Joshua by saying, oh, we're from a faraway country and, we're look at all of our worn out clothes. Well, Joshua didn't ask God. He didn't ask anybody else's input. He didn't really research it. He just hasty. Almost every time you see it in the Bible, hastiness is really not something to be proud of. And I think that we've got a balance. And I brought that up. The reason why I brought that up is because tomorrow tomorrow before about noon, we're going to make a call on whether we're going to have church on Sunday or not. And sometimes I think we're intimidated, by where's our leader. We're intimidated by, well, we need to hurry up and have this sacrifice. We're intimidated by whatever else. I'm playing words, of course. But, I think sometimes we just need to sit back and rest in the fact that God is in control. He knows what's going on, and he's got a plan. And we're part of that plan, thankfully. But I'll play into that on my next topic because it comes together. Thankfully, we're part of that plan, but I think we just get too hasty. We just think that we know everything. We know it's supposed to all be logical. It's not all logical all the time. The people of Israel was sitting down there in the valley while Moses was up on the mountain. That was totally illogical to them. And of course, they were, a pretty uncivilized people at that time, and so they're like, let's make a golden calf. So I just think that the reason why I brought it up, and we can talk about it a little bit, but the reason why I brought it up is because it's just so many people right now are a little bit anxious, ambitious to get out, to go do this and go do that. I've been held hostage for 7 weeks or whatever it's been. I think it's 7 weeks, 8 weeks maybe for us. But I just think you need to kind of sit back and I think it's just better to be a little bit more patient. And I'm an impatient person, so I'm saying this stuff. But I believe you got to be this balance. You got to have this balance. You got to be courageous and bold, but you also have to be spiritual and wise. So, make sense?
Completely. So I appreciate you sharing that, especially with the understanding of Moses. I know that early on during this outbreak, our church and thankfully Pastor was very quick to recognize the reality of it and made the choice to suspend the services for the time or move to an online service format, that kind of thing. And I do believe that has helped us. And so you're quick to make the choice when it's happening. So
right.
Caution plays in both sides. So I agree completely. It looks like the comment section agrees as well. So let's go ahead and move on to our next topic. And this is, we've talked about haste makes waste. Now, I believe your next one is 99 verses 1.
Yeah. And then we're going to talk about the economy in a little bit. So don't get all too anxious about this. But I will throw this in there because it all kind of comes together. As I said, sometimes we get hasty because we don't know God's plan. We don't understand it. We think we know it because there's some traditions, there's some customs, there's things that we go through, some routines that we're used to. The reality is God is dealing with the church and with the world right now and using COVID-19. That's just a plain fact. I don't even, it's just the way it is. God speaks to humanity through using all kinds of means, but he specifically says he uses the world and the earth and the things of it, earthquakes and pestilence and all that. Plus, again, and I've said this multiple times, but it plays into the end time. Now, this is the deal, though, and let me get my scripture. I've got my Bible. I said my Bible, my computer here. Luke chapter 15 and in Matthew 18. And Jesus talks about the man that has 100 sheep and he lost one. And so he says, what would happen, or what should happen, if you will? I mean, I'm paraphrasing, obviously. Should he not leave the 99 and go for that one? Well, in reality, right now I've perceived it, and I still don't disagree with this, that the Lord is shaking the world and waking the church. He's warning the world and waking the church, if you will. And he's trying to get the church to realize you're in the end time. Look at the fig tree as he told the disciples, and he was very upset. You can look at the fig tree and know summer's coming, but you can't even see when your Messiah is in front of you. Well, in the same way, he talks about the end time. He says, you know what? You might not know the day or the hour, but you're going to know the season. So I think he's waking the church up to the season, and he's shaking the world. But this is what I want to add in a little ingredient in there that I believe is the church needs to see it, and everybody needs to see it. If you're listening to me tonight, you need to recognize this. If you're backslidden, that's what the Lord is doing. He has left. In other words, the 90 and 9 are those people that have always been right around the shepherd. The 90 and 9, think about this. They've been me. I'm one of them. I'm always around the pastor. I mean, around my shepherd. I'm always there around my people. I mean, we're congregated. We call it a congregation for a reason. We're congregating together. So that's the 90 and 9. But there's backsliders out there. There's people that have stumbled and fallen, and there's people that have left the church. There's people that forgot the church existed. You know, they got busy. They got that word falling on the hard ground or on the thorny ground. And so I really believe that through using our modern technology, that's the reason why it's important for the church. I mean, like and share and do watch parties and stuff like that. Because it's important that the Lord, he uses us to reach that one. And I believe that he is using this situation to reach souls that otherwise he couldn't have reached. And that is the one. So while we are disconnected from the physical church building, we're physically isolated from one another. I believe in a paradigm shift, he's using this to reach that one. So in our haste, let me think. I don't want to be rude, of course, but I believe that we can be so self-consumed, and that's not. I don't want to say that. That's not really the right way to say it. And it's not. It's kind of we can just be so. I want church. I want church, and that's nothing wrong with that, by the way. I want church too, but we've got to recognize and look around. It's not just about the church. It's about the souls, and out of 100 souls, there's some that are lost, and the Lord's trying to. I hope I'm making sense.
Completely, and that's very convicting to consider. We can often get so much into I'm just ready to get back into normal. I'm ready to get back to the way we've always done it, because that's what made me feel good. It confirmed everything about me, and I had my group there, my clique, my church friends. I've had all these things, and I've been so caught up into this thing that we've put ourselves into that I've left out the backslider. I've left out my neighbor. I've left out the people that are trying to find a way in, and we are the hope. And I do believe that God is trying to bring us to that realization, and like you preached about not too long ago, not to waste the crisis, not to waste the opportunity that God has given us even right now to reach out and say, what, I know you want to get back to the way you used to be, but maybe the way you used to be is not exactly where we need to be. So I'll leave that to you.
I will throw this in there for good measure. Every time I have a ministers meeting, I ask a question at the end of the meeting, and you of course are one of them. I ask a question, and it usually is a question that puts us on the spot. It usually kind of shocks us or sets us aside. We're like, oh, wait a second, I hadn't thought about that. And I think, like you said, we can't let a crisis go to waste. Or I said that, and then you repeated it. I think that if we haven't spent out of the last 7 or 8 weeks, if we haven't done something positive, spiritual with this, reached out to someone, and that's the thing. It's so convenient. It would be nothing for me to go across to my neighbor, and we've got this neighborhood out, but it would be nothing for me to go across to my neighbor and say, hey, just want to check on y'all. Y'all doing okay? Man, that's easy. And at this point, because of COVID-19, it's accepted. Why We just don't need to be. We just don't need to be forgetful that it's what the Lord is saying, what Jesus is saying here in in Luke 15 and Matthew 18, is that it's about souls, not about everybody getting fat. Ooh, sorry.
No, that's good, and that's why you're the pastor. So
Yeah.
remind us, we've got to have somebody in our life that's willing to tell the truth and do it in a biblical way. So thank you for that. That's can
In
often
love.
be a realignment, exactly, in love. So
Yeah.
thank you for that. Is there anything else you want to say on that topic before we move on to the next one?
No, I just don't want the church to get back to where now. Let me. You know what? I just said no, and then I started talking. Yeah, there he is. I don't want to see the church get back to where it's all about us.
Right.
That scares me. If we get back to where it's all about us, we have totally missed the lesson in COVID-19.
Right.
Totally missed it.
Yeah, we've got to find the biblical mission, which is to win souls, to lead people to Him, to the peace that they could never understand otherwise.
Right.
And,
There is a
and
place
being
for the church.
spirit-filled. Exactly. And so
there is a place for the church building, but
Right.
we are the church. The church
Right.
building is for education, for fellowship, for the programs that we have, so integrating people into the flock, so to speak. You know, but that's not. We are the church. We've got to be about our mission out there.
Right. The building facilitates and supplements, and we get out and do the work.
Well, that's
So,
good. Yeah,
I love
exactly.
that. So the next one, the very next one, we're going to talk a little bit about economic developments. Go ahead and lead us into that. What do you think?
Okay, I think a lot about it, and I'm hoping that we're getting some questions about some of these things. But you know, if we're not, I'm gonna look it up while I'm sitting here. So give me just a minute. But I'm gonna look up national debt real quick.
And while he's doing that, feel free to go ahead and send in any comments, any questions, concerns you have in the comment section. We'd love to hear from you because our world is ever changing, and this is something that there's something new every day, and it's just amazing. Thankfully, we serve a God that nothing shocks him. I'll say that. Nothing blows his mind, really. And so he's got the whole world in his hands. We're not to be fearful, but we are to be aware. I think that's a responsibility on our side, is to be aware of our surroundings and ability to minister within those surroundings, whatever it is that is happening, because change is coming, just as it always has been. So we just have to be ready for it and not be surprised by it, at least. So go ahead, Pastor.
Okay, so I wanted to verify what I was fixing to say, before I said it, of course, we are currently 24 trillion $729 billion in debt. It's incredible. Let me give you for a understanding perspective. If you went back to George Herbert Walker Bush, that would be Bush 39, I believe it is, before Clinton, his national debt was a little over, let's just say 3 trillion. I'm looking at a graph. It doesn't, not really clear. 3 trillion. That's it. So it has gone up from 3. By the time he's out of the office, it was about 4. From Clinton, who was 2 terms, from 4 trillion to looks like about 6. George Walker, no, what is his middle name? George Bush. Anyway, George Bush, the junior, he started out at,
Herbert Walker.
No, it's not Herbert. No, that's not Herbert Walker.
Okay.
The older one's Herbert Walker.
Okay.
Anyway, he started out at 6 trillion, and because of 9/11, and I'm going somewhere with this, he was up to 12 trillion. He doubled the national debt in 8 years. Then President Obama took it at that 12 trillion. And when he gave it to President Trump, it was at 20 trillion. 20 trillion in 8 years, from 12 to 20. Now, and this has just happened in this year. We were actually paying down the national debt until February 1st-ish. We went from 20 trillion within just 3 months, less than 3 months, to nearly $25 trillion. What was taking 8 years to add $5 trillion, we did it in 2.5, 3 months. Now, this is where it's important. I believe that all of this, and let me just clarify this, and I think it just makes sense. I believe all of this is in the hand of God. It all plays into the plan of God. So I'm not worried about it. But I don't want the people of the church to be caught unaware, because what is going to happen is inflation. And I've said this last week too. It's going to smack us so hard in the face here in a few months, maybe a year at the most. It's going to hurt us bad. You think about it. Brother Evans and I were talking about just a little bit the other day. Wayne Evans, sorry. You know, you look at, like, for instance, they haven't done this yet, but restaurants now, right now, can only do 25% of their business at any one time. It's in Texas, just in the last few days. Maybe that gets up to 50. Maybe it gets up to 75%. Let's just say a restaurant that would normally have a lunch crowd of 100 people, you know, serving plates of $10, and that was their plate. Well, now they can only serve 50 people or 75 people. What happened to that $10 plate? They've got to make the money up somewhere, because they've still got to pay the same kitchen staff and all the food and all the other things. It's going to go into that plate. So what used to be $10 is now going to be $12.50 or $13. Flights, you know, they're not going to be able. I mean, I saw a video the other day where they had a flight, and I mean, the flight was packed. It's crazy, and I couldn't believe it. But that's probably not going to always be the case. They'll either make you wear masks, change the filtration system in the plane, no middle seats. Somewhere they're going to make up for it. Well, now on top of all that, and I'm not a doom and gloom person. Like I said, it's all in God's hands. It's all God's plan. Not worried about it. But I do want you to be aware of this. You just got to be prepared. Prepared people don't panic. Prepared people see it for what it is and take care of business. This is what you got to understand. So what we're going to see is, let me go back. Food. Right now, I've tried to verify this, and I don't have farmer friends. All I can do, I mean, I don't have farmer friends. Sure, I've got some friends that are farmers. I think I do. But I've heard, and enough news reports have come out, and enough videos on YouTube and places. Man, they have like what is it called? Smithville Foods or whatever it is. The pork plants are shutting down. The chicken plants are shutting down. The CEO of Tyson Foods just yesterday or the day before, today's Tuesday, so I think it was Monday. Mm-hmm. He just come out just the other day and says, we are getting ready to have a food shortage. Yeah. And he was adamant about it, and it was on national news, CBS or ABC or Fox or one of them. So my point is, what we've got to recognize is this is coming.
Yes.
Inflation, food shortages, this is coming. People are going to be losing their jobs. I realize that the government is all in. $5 trillion in 3 months, less than 3 months, should make our eyes bug at how fast they just went through $5 trillion. But, and it's going to be what's the word? A panacea. It's going to comfort us, but it's going to be a false comfort. Is that the right word? I think it's the right word.
Possibly.
It's going to be a false comfort. Yeah, possibly. It's not going to last. And if it does last, it only means that they're going to add more debt and more debt and more debt. Right now, we are paying 100% of our GDP. Now, you know what? I better not say all that.
Well, specifically, I'll bring in a question from one of our viewers, Catherine, who made the comment. She said, how do you think the Fed, specifically the Fed, will handle inflation if it does happen? Which I from what I understand what you said earlier, it's going to happen. What's the Fed's role in all of this? How are they doing it?
Okay, let me qualify what I say. First of all, I'm not an economist, but I can read. And I know a little bit of history. And there has been enough of this happening from the 30s, then during the Great Depression, during the Weimar Republic of Germany, Zimbabwe, Venezuela. My goodness, there's so many others. Serbia. Those are all countries that have even recently, some of them are still dealing with hyperinflation. The problem that it's not really okay. This is I'm
challenge.
probably the challenge, and I'm probably talking over my head, so I don't want to do that. I don't want to get myself in a hole that I can't get out of. But the challenge that we have is that we, because of our international recognition, the international recognition of our currency, our gold stockpiles, our oil, influence on oil, all of that, we have had since the 40s, 45, 46, somewhere in there, 47, come to think of it, we have had the power to print money, especially since 1971, when Nixon did away with all precious metals as a reference point for our money. But we have had the freedom to print as much money as needed. This is the challenge. How long will other countries trust our currency to have the perceived value if we're just printing it willy-nilly with nothing to back it? That's the problem. So how will the government respond? So that's the first thing. You got to realize that little perspective. I believe the government will try to respond, as they always do, but playing the combination of end-time events and economic situations, challenges, I believe that we are going to see hyperinflation, whether they like it or not. And eventually, I believe we're going to see where we're going to go to a digital currency. I know that there are people that say America won't go through the tribulation, and I'm not God, so I'm looking at the Bible, hearing all these arguments, and I'm saying, okay, I can accept that, but it doesn't mean that I have to 100% agree with it. Okay, so I believe that we're going to suffer. It's like, you know what? It kind of reminds me of when COVID-19 started. China has 1.6 billion people. Somebody said if China sneezes, the whole world catches a cold. Well, believe me, if China goes into a digital currency and they start manipulating the currency, it's going to affect the whole world. So even though we might not, quote unquote, go through the tribulation, which some people say, I believe it's going to be trying enough that we feel the pain. I don't believe that God is a respecter of persons. So I don't believe he's just going to isolate America and say, oh, don't worry about it because you're so godly. I don't believe that. We're not godly enough. We kill babies all the time. We have allowed all kinds of crazy stuff to happen in our nation. We're not as godly as we used to be. So I think they're going to try. I'm doing this stuff in my head. The Fed's going to try to contain it. They're going to try. But I actually think it's going to end up playing into the end time scenario, one world currency, all that kind of stuff.
All right. Well, thank you for that answer. It was pretty on point, I would think. So let's go ahead and get into the very last topic that we were going to discuss is economic preparation. In light of these issues, in light of all that's come up that we just talked about, what can we do as real Americans, as men and women who have to work a job to survive, have to go through these things? What can we do in preparedness-wise?
Okay, first let me apologize for my hands. I use my hands a lot when I talk. I don't mean to. So there's a couple things you can do. First of all, you can get yourself out of debt. And of course, in our world, being out of debt is like you just are a weirdo if you don't have any debt. That is very practical for some people, rather unpractical for other people. We can't put everybody in the same pile and say we all have to be the same. It just can't. It's just impossible. We have too many business owners, do different trades, different types of families. We've got families that they own a business and they're totally committed to that business, but the business has to have credit to operate. So being totally out of debt is kind of it's a possibility if um, if all you oh man, this is kind of hard. If you just have a job or you just have a basic job and I'm not man, why am I saying some I don't want to sound rude. If you have a typical family with have a typical, two jobs and a house and three cars, you can pretty much get out of debt if you just, manage your money but good. But if you're on the other hand, if you've got a business or you've got kids that are growing, and like here a few years ago, and it's been a few years, but I had a list at one time. I probably still do it on my phone, but there was like within 6 months, I had one child get married. Let's see here. Let me think. What was it? I was finishing my undergrad degree. I had one child get married, another one go to college. Uh, One was going to, I forget. Oh, and I think at the same time I had some kind of crazy medical problem that I had to have, like, I forgot, $3,500 or whatever. It was just stack, 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 stack. So saying that we're all going to get out of debt is it's impractical for everybody. But if you can get out of debt, get out of debt. By all means, get out of debt. At the same time, inflation is going to change some paradigms. So, for instance, food will probably skyrocket. Food will be high. So you think with me, how can I alleviate my food burden, my food load, if you will? Food's going to go up. Labor's going to go down. So you can hire somebody real cheap to do things. Transportation will probably go up. Although gas, oil products might drop to the bottom. I don't know. Again, I'm just surmising. There's all kinds of intricate details, but there's some things that, a car might be something that is a luxury in 10, 15 years. And I'm talking, it costs you a lot of money to buy one. So what can you do? Let's look at it in a practical perspective. If it was me, and it is me, of course, I'm living just like you are, putting shoes on my feet every morning. I think I would try to get out of debt, but I would also try to, if possible, be somewhat you can't be an island, but you can be self-sufficient. It's not 100% possible, but you can try. But any little bit that you can do is a benefit, is a blessing, because once inflation hits, typically what we've seen in history is it starts off slightly incrementally, if you will, and then it starts gaining steam. And within days, it can go from 100% inflation to 1,000% inflation. And from a few days later, it can literally get up to 1,000,000% inflation. I mean, in the Weimar Republic, and there's nothing to ensure us from doing this. That's what we get. Our American exceptionalism, we think, oh, that would never happen here. How do we know that? How can we ensure that? Listen to what they did in the Weimar Republic. Look it up. History. In the Weimar Republic, they were taking wheelbarrows full of money to go buy a loaf of bread. Now, this is what the government will do. They will manipulate our currency by putting us on a digital currency. And they will change our currency value along with the value of the bread. So perception will be it's affordable. But the government, they won't be able to hide it for long. And the reason why I say that is because our military will go to, what do they call it? It'll be archaic. It won't be kept up. It'll be hard to get certain things, parts for your cars, stuff like that. These are things that are typical in hyperinflation. Will it happen to America? I'm not 100% sure, but I really believe it will happen. We will have an exorbitant amount of inflation, in my mind, within a couple of years at the most, probably sooner, probably 6 months to a year. And I will say it this way to you, and I think most of you, when you realize what you've done in the past, you'll realize this. I went, and I'm trying to remember some of the things that I bought over the years, and I would go buy a pack of whatever. I'm just saying, a loaf of bread. And at first, the loaf of bread was, I remember when loaves of bread were like that long. It was, man, it was huge. And some of you remember it. It was like 30 inches long. You got a loaf of bread, and it was, $2. Well, then they shortened it about that long, and it was 250. So you paid like a 25% inflation on that loaf of bread without actually perceiving it real quick. So something else you can do, get off of things that you don't need. Start saving a little money. Cash is king. Right now it is anyway. Save your money. Get off. I mean, things that things that you just don't have to have. Don't subscribe to every magazine and every car wash and this Spotify and all that. Just save your money. Get to the point to where you can live cheaper. Get to the point where you can eat cheaper. Get to the point where you can clothe yourself cheaper. Take care of your clothes. Those are things that, and like I said, I think it was 3 or 4 weeks ago, learn a new skill. My mom, I think it was my mom, said something about she was canning today. Man, that's a great skill. Learn to can, learn to garden, barter with people. Those are things that you're going to end up having to learn. You might not have to worry about it today, but the day will come where you probably will. So that's where I'm at. That's what I'm. Anything else that I should talk about in that point?
Not that I know of. I think we would mostly agree, and we're seeing some agreement in the comments section of people realizing that change is the only thing that's inevitable in our world, and we've got to expect it. We cannot expect life to continue as it always is, because it never has actually done that. And so I think we could all agree that we just expect change, especially now. We're seeing the signs. We see what could happen, the possibilities, and there's nothing wrong, and it's probably advised to take care of your family. Do what's best for your family. If that means picking up a new skill, if that means saving a little more money than you have before, getting out of debt whenever you've never been before, things like that, I think that's obviously a great thing to do. So if that's all we have there, anything else you want to say on that?
Well, I would say that yes, there is something else I have to
Always.
say instead of no. I think that I preached a message a while back. It was called "Tend Your Own Fire." It was back in February. Tend your own fire, and it basically is talking about the 5 wise and the 5 foolish, being right with God, and that is probably, I think that message has rolled over in my mind more than any message I've probably ever preached. And it's not because I preached it. It's because I believe it was a message from God. I believe it was a message that we need to embrace and recognize that it's not just a spiritual thing that you're going to have to take care of yourself. You're going to go to heaven. You're going to stand before God. You're going to stand by yourself, not with me. So you got to take care of yourself. But it's also, you got to take care of other things in yourself. You can't, and I said it that night, if I'm not mistaken, that night, I said, you can't be the weak link. And I'm not trying to be hard. I'm trying to be loving and caring. But if I love you, I'm going to tell you the truth. You just can't be the weak link. You've got to toughen up. You've got to be strong. You got to, when you make a mistake, recognize I made a mistake. And some mistakes are hard to fix. I've suffered with mistakes for 10, 15, 20 years before. So you just got to deal with it. You can't whine about it, but you got to deal with it. You can whine about it, but it won't help anything.
And I would say real quick, if you want to listen to that message, go to victoryupc.com, tend your own fire. This is something that's worth going back to, and it's very, very applicable in every aspect of your life, whether that be in preparation for economic issues or, and especially, your spiritual well-being. So go ahead. I'm sorry to interrupt, but I wanted to say that before we get too far.
No, it's fine, and I appreciate that. And I think if you haven't heard that message, you need to hear it. And it's not because I preached it, but I really believe it is a message for our time, a message for this end. I'm going to call it the end time. And it is a spiritual message, but it's also, there's so many implications. But my point is, I think, okay, if I'm sitting here thinking of ideas, well, I think while I talk. So I don't know what they call it. There's a phrase for it. I forget it though. I'm an audible thinker. I don't know what you call it. But my point is, if we were in a group, we would think of, oh, this is an idea, this is an idea, this is an idea. Listen, make sure you're joined with people of like mind that can help you and work through some of these issues that are going to come up. Don't isolate yourself, think you're all the big hero and you've got all the plans and all the it's not the way God intended us to live. We need one another. And so if we're in a good group of good people, what one person doesn't know, somebody else will. What one person has a abundance of, others will have a lack. That's really what we need to be very careful to do. So,
well, while we're on that topic of community, we have had, over the past 2 months, I would say, we've built a community of people that have possibly never even gone into the doors of Victory Church in College Station, Texas. And many of them have watched our services. They've watched our Tuesday night Victory Talks, or they've just been involved, and they've seen a lot of this. And one of the questions came in about tithing, and I know this is something that you don't hound on a lot and you don't beat people over the head with all the time, but I do want you to tell us a little bit about tithing, the principle of it, just the basics of tithing. And also, they say, who do I tithe? If say I am connected with, I don't know, your church, but also maybe I watch another church, or whatever, you could fill in the blank of how this all works. But why don't you just tell us a little bit about tithing, and not necessarily your opinion, but what's the Bible say about it?
Okay.
Throw that on you, by the way.
All right. Yeah. Okay. So here's the deal. Tithing is all about relationship. It's all about relationship. I know it sounds crazy because it's money, but money is literally only a tool. It's never been designed to be anything more than a tool. Not even the government doesn't even look at it as any more than a tool. I mean, they tax you on it and all that kind of stuff because they can, and because it's what keeps the world going. But tithing is all about relationship. If you have your relationship right with God, you'll be glad to give because His work is being done through our tithing. We got all kinds of ministries all over the world, and all kinds of ministries going on because of our giving, our tithing, and our offering. Because you can't really count out offering there. Okay, I'll get to the spiritual part. I mean, not the spiritual part, biblical part in a minute. I might have to do some scripture searches real quickly. But my point is, it's about relationship with God. Then, and you talked about who do you tithe? Well, God uses the local church connected to a body. By the way, one of the reasons why it kind of worries me, and I'm not anti non-organization, but I am anti-accountability. I think everybody needs to be accountable to somebody and other people, other things. You got to be humble enough to be accountable. So I think organizations, church organizations, are good. They keep things above board. They keep things in order. And so you're accountable. Your relationship is accountable to a church, a physical body of people. That people gathers what does the Bible call it? Into the storehouse. It gathers the goods, if you will, into the storehouse, and it distributes them throughout the world to do God's work. So it's about relationship with God, relationship with the church, and a relationship with money. Your relationship with money is a very big deal. You've got to have a relationship with God to understand your relationship with money. If you don't have your relationship with God right, you won't have your relationship with money right. And so it'll become a God instead of God being God. It makes sense. So who do you tithe? Well, you tithe your church. You tithe the church you attend. If you don't attend a church, I guess you can just choose, pick willy-nilly, pick a church and just put a bunch of words on a dartboard and throw it and hit it. But the problem with that is, let me go back. Let me just go back. This is the best thing. You and I, we all need a pastor. Every one of us needs a pastor. You can of course, in the Bible, in the church, we're called pastors. I'm a pastor, but I have a pastor. And that pastor holds me accountable, watches over me, checks on me, things like that. We all need that. We need to be planted in a church and not transplanting ourselves all the time, but settled and stable, growing. That pastor will challenge us. They will challenge us. They will even offend us. Not now. If there are some rude pastors, I met a few of them. Not me. I didn't look in the mirror. But but if you've got to have the truth preached in love, and oftentimes that hurts our feelings. So, thing is, you find a church that preaches the truth in love, the whole truth, not part of it. Submit yourself to that pastor, and you give tithe to that church. And that church works with other churches. And for instance, I'll give an example. We sponsor, I'm guessing, I'm probably close, but I'm guessing 30 missionaries. I'm probably within a one or two of either up or down. It might be 32, it might be 28, but I think it's around 30. We sponsor 30 missionaries. 30 missionaries in different parts of the world take a lot of money. 30 missionaries on average, $50,000 a year. Think about that. $50,000 a year times 3. That's $1,500,000 if I'm not mistaken. Somebody do the math and say yes. I don't know. But my point is, no one church can do that for 30 missionaries. Well, I say no one. We could. But we can combine with all the other churches around us, give, and that'd be good. So does that make sense?
Yes, I would say so. And there's a couple of scriptures that come to mind whenever we're talking about tithing. And this is something that's very biblical. We see it with Melchizedek in the Old Testament. And just specifically, you're talking about, people talk about the spirit of giving. Matthew 6:21 says, where your treasure is, there your heart and thoughts will also be. And then specifically, when it comes to tithing, you brought up scripture, and I found it Malachi chapter 3, talking about the storehouse. It says in verse 10, it says, bring all the tithes into the storehouse, so there will be enough food in my temple. If you do, says the Lord Almighty, I will open the windows of heaven for you.
Right.
I will pour out a blessing so great you won't have enough room to take it in. And it also says, try it, let me prove it to you. And I know this giving is not all about blessings. And we don't give so that we can be blessed. But that is a response to God. And
well,
go ahead.
You've got two sides of that. You've got the blessings and the curse.
Right.
God will not. This is one of the things that I struggle with as a pastor, blessing what God curses. Wow. I can't pray. I cannot pray. I refuse to pray, God bless somebody, if they're not honoring God in their giving. I just can't do it. Who would I be if I was asking God, please bless them, even though they're breaking your law? Please bless them, though they're not, they could be. No, I don't want that. So there's the blessing and the curse. Haggai, I just picked it up, because, and it's one of the scriptures that come to my mind while I was talking about it. Haggai, or Haggai, whatever you'll call it, chapter 1, says that when you earn wages, you put your money in your purse, and your purse has got holes in it because you don't give. It's
yeah. And I'll say this: we could go a lot deeper into tithing. And
yes.
We do. We actually have a course that we have at Victory Church. We have a Connect class and a Next class. Next is a place where we examine these principles. We examine these things in the Word of God. And so if there is anybody that's watching this now that maybe you've been interested in maybe some doctrine, you want to know about maybe what we believe or maybe what the Bible says, and that's exactly what we believe. And that's the whole purpose of it all, is we don't bring ideas and thoughts outside of the Bible, but we find everything we believe out of Bible, out of the Word of God that we call the Word of God. So if you are interested in say, you want to get a Bible study, you want to learn about tithing just happens to be the topic that was sent to us tonight, but there are other topics. Why don't you message us, victoryupc.com, or maybe message us on Facebook where you're watching us now. This is a good opportunity for you to learn. If you could be in a place where you have a lot of time on your hands, we have people at our church that would love to work with you and go through this studying of the Bible. So anything else, Pastor, before we wrap this up tonight?
I would say this. One of the things that I see a lot of people struggle with is finding a church that, okay, I'm going to say this, and I want to be very careful how I say it. Finding a church they quote unquote like, that they can sit under the pastor and respect, and that agrees with their doctrine. All of this combination is so important to every single one of us, okay?
Right.
I'm saying that kind of tongue in cheek. Mm-hmm. Because the fact is, our God in heaven has put things in the Word that we don't like. In other words, if you're trying to find a church, I'm trying to find a church that I like, that fits my doctrine, and I'm using the quote unquote things all the time. But the fact is, you might find a church, but what if you miss the kingdom?
What are we judged by? You know?
Yeah, it's the Word. And as much as I love people, I have to speak the Word. And this is a phrase that I used to use a lot, kind of got out of vogue in my mind, but it's not really. It's just I forgot. But I will say this. I won't say you, but the people at Victory should be grateful that I love the Word of God more than I love them. Because
right.
if I'm in love with the people more than I am the Word, I'll twist the Word to satisfy the people. But if I'm in love with the Word more than people, I will give the full Word in love to the people. So it's just one of those things that, and everything comes out of that. Tithing is one of them. There's just a lot of stuff that you've got to go. Your reference point, the center of your life, has got to be the Word of God. And if it's not, you got a lot of problems. Because
exactly.
you might find a church that you like, but it's not going to be in the kingdom.
That's right. Well, I appreciate you answering that. I know we could have got a lot deeper, and we could have prepared a big, long Bible study that lasts an hour or more for everybody. But that was just something we're hitting on that someone had sent in to us. And so I want to encourage you tonight as we wrap this up, if you think of something this week that you think, you know what, this is something that I would love to run past Pastor Castleberry next Tuesday, or I want to bring this up. You see something in the news, you see an article, whatever it is, why don't you send it to us? We'd love to look into it, discuss it, talk about it, and see what the Word of God does in light of that. Because we base our entire life off of Scripture. And this is not something that we are sheltered by, but we're enlightened by. And so I think this is something that's great, and the Word is a lamp to our feet, a light into our path. It shows us the next step to take. It doesn't always show us 10 years down the road and give us enlightenment to our future, our grandkids, and all the details of life, but He gives us comfort. Exactly, comfort for that next step. And that's something that every single one of us should be praying for. And so, Pastor Castleberry, is there anything else you want to say before we wrap this up?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yep. He says, give us Lord, our daily bread.
Yes.
You're not going to know what's in the future. Just take what you got. This is what I would say. And I say this to a small crowd, maybe thousands will hear it one day. If you live in College Station, I would love to be your pastor. I would love to be your pastor if you're willing to follow the Word of God. That's what matters. I love you. I thank God for all of our church, and I can't wait to reach more. It's all about the souls. It's about souls, about eternity. Money is just a tool. Let's live for God.
Yes. Well,
I got to quit.
Thank you for sharing that with us, and thank you all for watching. This has been another opportunity to get through Victory Talks with Pastor Castleberry on a Tuesday night. Please join us next week. We're going to have another discussion again, and we want you to let us know what you want to talk about, what you want to hear. So again, thank you. Go to our website, victoryupc.com. Check us out. If you have any questions, message us on Facebook, send us an email, do something, get connected with the church, because God is doing amazing things. He's done it throughout this time of COVID-19. He's going to continue to do it afterwards. So thank you for watching, and God bless you.
Can
Yes?
they go back and watch it later?
Yes, youtube.com. There's a great place to go. Almost all of our Victory Talk, Facebook Lives, those kind of things are transferred onto YouTube. So if this is something that maybe you felt changed your life, or maybe it encouraged you in some way, and you think your neighbor, you think your relative would be encouraged by what we're talking about tonight, you can share that video, whether it be on Facebook now, or you can go onto our YouTube page, youtube.com, and then you can search for Victory Church College Station, and you will find our YouTube page. And from there, you'll see, I think we're up to close to 50 videos that we have made in the past 2 months, which is quite a bit. That's almost one every day. That's going to be an encouragement. It's going to change somebody's life. And it's something that if you haven't seen them all, go back and watch some, because every one of them is just a wealth of knowledge, understanding, and of Scripture and what we base our life off of. So again, thank you for watching. VictoryUPC.com. This has been Victory Talks with Pastor Castleberry on a Tuesday night. Have a good night, and God bless you.
God bless you.